Well, good afternoon, and apologies for the delay with our intro. It's 1:02 p.m. on this Tuesday, November 18th. I am Connor Reel. I'm here with the People's producer, Nia Campbell. Nia, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent because I heard that you and Sarah Calloway absolutely crushed it on Live Impact News yesterday afternoon. No lie, that is what I have heard, and I'm extremely excited and proud for you guys that y'all stepped in and made it happen without us. It does show that we are imminently replaceable over here on the microphone side, but still, I'm so happy you guys were able to do that. How did it feel?
It felt weird,
Okay.
I'm not going to lie, but we got it done. We handled it professionally, and we were able to go for 2 hours, so I'm proud of us as well.
Got it done, handled it professionally. That is the Nia Campbell way. Okay, so we are back here in studio into some sense of normalcy, and we are about to head out to the White House right away because the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, is in Washington, D.C. today. It's his first visit since the 2018 killing of a Washington Post journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, at a Saudi consulate in Turkey. So it's the first time the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia has visited the United States since the killing of that Washington Post journalist at a Saudi consulate in Turkey, but he is here for the first time since 2018 in Washington, D.C., holding a meeting with President Trump in front of the assembled press and other cabinet members. So let's go live out to Washington, D.C. right now.
We're at ABC, they're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. And I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me. But he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax, and ABC's your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it out?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible, and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time. That creep of the fund guy was with him all the time. What's his name?
Reid Hoffman.
Who? Reid Hoffman. I don't know Reid Hoffman, but I know he spends a lot of money on the radical left. Reid Hoffman, in my opinion, should be under investigation. He's a sleazebag. And those are the people, but they don't get any press, they don't get any news, and you're not after the radical left because you're a radical left network. But I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you. Who else has a question?
Prince, very quickly, I want to ask you, how much money is Saudi Arabia giving for Gaza reconstruction?
Well, we are in discussion about that. Still, there is no amount being
It'll be a lot.
named, but
It'll be a
we
lot.
will definitely help.
Yeah, he's gonna. It's very important to him.
And a quick follow-up, the International Security Force, given your pledge there would be no U.S. boots on the ground, what is the U.S. role going to be in that? And how do you sort of ratify the allegations that this could undermine Palestinian sovereignty and even the path to statehood?
I think we're going to get along great with the Palestinians, and we know their leadership. We just had a very, you hate to say war, but it was a war. Very, very successful. And you could say, really, it was on behalf of everybody. We did that on behalf of everybody. And the outcome was extraordinary because we had the best pilots, the best equipment, the best planes, the best everything. And Israel bought the best equipment. They bought it from us. Everything's from us. It all starts here. This office, I was talking to the Crown Prince a little while. You walk into this office, for somebody from the outside, the Oval Office, it's the most powerful place in the world. You're standing right now in the most powerful place in the world. And no matter how big you are, these are the biggest people, the richest people. They walk into this office. It's special, isn't it? Look at him. He's so happy to be here. But you walk into this office. It's the Oval Office. And we've done a lot of good with this office. I've stopped actually 8 wars. I appreciated your question before. But I've actually stopped 8 wars. I have another one to go with Putin. I'm a little surprised at Putin. It's taken longer than I thought. But we stopped India and Pakistan. I could go through the list. You know the list better than I do. I'm very proud. And I stopped one that was almost ready to start again. You know, there was one that was ready to start. And they're doing very well. So and it all took place right here in the Oval Office, whether by telephone or whether by they came in. Many of these leaders have come in, and you know they signed their peace deals right here in the Oval Office. So no matter if it's the biggest business people in the world or the greatest leaders in the world, the biggest leaders in the world, like the gentleman on my right, everybody walks into the Oval Office and they say, wow. And now, by the way, the Oval Office is in the kind of condition that it should be in. Whether you look at the walk or the marble floors or anything down the road, we're fixing the White House. And we're building one of the greatest ballrooms ever to be built. You know, we have an event tonight, and we're going to have about 118 people because we have a very small room. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom, and now you're going to get a great ballroom. And I have to say, I probably made a lot of enemies because in your honor, we're having a dinner tonight, a beautiful dinner tonight, and we have a very small room, right? It's called the East Room, and it's beautiful, it's lovely, but it's like for a little cocktail before you go into a ballroom. It's a very small room. They've wanted a new ballroom for 150 years. We could have sold the big ballroom out 3 times in honor of this gentleman. So I made a lot of enemies because I have a lot of people that are invited tonight or are unable to come because of the size constraint. But you know what we'll do before I leave office? We'll have another dinner because we'll have it ready long before I leave office, and it's going to be beautiful. It's you know, it's a very popular thing what we're doing. And by the way, no government funds. It's all put up private money, all private money. And in the case, I think it's there's a restriction on foreigners. Otherwise, I could have asked you just for a check, okay? But there's a restriction. These are all private individuals that put up a lot of money to build the ballroom. Not one penny is being used from the federal government. So it's really a nice thing. But I look forward to it. I just pointed it out. If this would be a perfect night to have that ballroom open, Susie. If we had that open, we'd have a lot of people very happy. Right now, we have a lot of unhappy people because they all want to be with us tonight to honor this great man. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Everybody out. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you, Press. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Press. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you. All right, guys. Start with guys. Thank you. Break out outside. Press, let's go. Thank you, Press. Thank you. Thank you, Press. Thank you. Let's go. Everybody move. Thank you.
Okay, as you can hear there, the portion of that meeting that is open to the press is now finished. They are escorting the press out of the building, and you also heard President Trump talking about a dinner tonight where I believe he said 118 guests will be there to also spend time with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. Saudi Arabia, of course, home to some of the most, the highest amount of wealth to come from oil in the world. An incredible fund of wealth from state-run oil economics in Saudi Arabia. And they are now here visiting, or not just they, but the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman himself, MBS as he's known, here now in Washington, D.C., in the United States, I want to emphasize again, it is his first trip since 2018, which is also his first trip since a Washington Post journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, who had been critical of the Saudi Arabian regime in the past, was killed in a Saudi consulate in Turkey. So he is now back in Washington, D.C. MBS, or Mohammed bin Salman, is back in Washington, D.C., visiting with President Donald Trump. And they also, had an announcement come yesterday from President Trump announcing that he is going to be selling F-35s to Saudi Arabia. On Monday, President Donald Trump announced he'd be selling F-35s to Saudi Arabia. And there has also been some reporting around a potential defense pact to come out of this meeting, out of the meeting between these two world leaders. So we will continue to monitor that visit. It is a major visit here to Washington, D.C. by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And we also want to note that we did record that press gathering from the very beginning. We were able to catch the tail end of it, but we did record from the beginning, and it's likely, depending on our schedule here as we move through Live Impact News, that we're able to listen in on more of the sound from earlier in that meeting between the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS as he's called at times, and President Donald Trump. So, again, a story that is at top of mind today, top of the headlines today, and that we will be monitoring throughout our time here on Live Impact News. Now, you heard President Donald Trump mention another story that is very, very top of mind here today, and that is the Epstein list, the Jeffrey Epstein list, and an upcoming House of Representatives vote that could lead to the release of some of those Jeffrey Epstein files that the Department of Justice reportedly holds. So that is something that is upcoming, and if it were to go through the House, then it would be sent to the Senate. If it were to go through the Senate, it would be on President Donald Trump's desk. And just recently, President Donald Trump has said that he would indeed sign for those files to be released from Department of Justice control. So that has been another story that has been, unraveling for years here in the United States, but appears to be reaching a new step in its progress here as the House of Representatives is set to vote on whether or not to release the Jeffrey Epstein files from the Department of Justice's control and cover. So that is something that vote may come down while we're here on Live Impact News. I would say unlikely based on our time frame, but it's possible, and it's something that we will continue to keep an eye on today. Now, I want to bring Naya back in because, Naya, we have a couple things going on here. We also have a major event here locally that 13 News Now is participating in, or really is a member of, and that is Odyssey is teaming up with us here at 13 News Now for a food drive that is happening right now. And our very own Janet Roach is out at the Neighbors Helping Neighbors food drive that 13 News Now is a proud sponsor of. And so we're going to have her live here on Impact News at some point today. And I want to throw it to you, Naya. Is Janet Roach, our main anchor here at 13 News Now, is she ready for us, or is she still getting set up with everything?
She is still getting set up. I'm messaging with her right now. She is working on her IFB, and then we can toss to her. Okay,
so while we wait for Janet to get set up, we have the House floor live. How would you feel, Naya, about us going live out to the House floor on this critical day? As we just said, a vote upcoming on the release of the Epstein files. Why don't we go live out to the House floor now? We'll listen in, and we'll be back in here in studio with Janet Roach before long. What do you think, Naya?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, so for now, out to Washington, D.C. Back out to Washington, D.C. A very busy day in our nation's capital, but this time we go to the House of Representatives.
Yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the Chair will postpone further proceedings today on motions to suspend the rules on which a recorded vote or the yeas and nays are ordered, or votes objected to under Clause 6 of Rule 20. The House will resume proceedings on postponed questions at a later time. For what purpose does the gentleman from Ohio seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 4405.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 4405, a bill to require the Attorney General to release all documents and records in possession of the Department of Justice relating to Jeffrey Epstein and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan, and the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Raskin, each will control 20 minutes. The Chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and to insert extraneous material on H.R. 4405.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
We all support holding bad guys accountable, and we're all going to vote for this resolution. But I think a little perspective is important. Democrats have spent 6 months talking about Epstein, even though they had 4 years to do something about it. Now, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Maybe it's to go after President Trump. Never forget, they shut down the government for 43 days. They said, don't worry about our military, don't worry about air traffic controllers, don't worry about our economy, don't worry about American families. No, no, no. Close the government for a month and a half because it might hurt the president. For the past decade, there's been one constant for Democrats. One constant: go after Trump. They spied on his campaign. Then it was Mueller. Then it was impeachment 1. Then it was impeachment 2. Then it was all the lawfare. Alvin Bragg, Fonnie Willis, Letitia James. Then it was Arctic Frost investigation at the Justice Department, surveilling United States senators and congressmen, and a whole host of other Americans. Then it was Jack Smith and his gag orders and his raiding President Trump's home. Then it was a 43-day shutdown, and now it's Epstein. And by the way, the same party that did all that, they were also the ones who were texting with Mr. Epstein during a hearing where Michael Cohen was their witness in another effort to go after the president. Americans see through it all, and frankly, it's actually kind of sad. This obsession, this syndrome, this mindset that says we got to go after President Trump no matter what that they have. And when I think about it, I think it's because President Trump and Republicans have accomplished so much that they told the voters they were going to accomplish in the 2024 election. We're actually doing what we said we were going to do. President Trump said he was going to cut taxes, and he did. President Trump said he would secure the border, and he did. President Trump said he'd get men out of women's sports, and he did. President Trump said he would make sure Iran doesn't have nuclear capability, and he did. And he said he would get the hostages out of Gaza back into Israel, and he did. All in 9 months. So I don't know what causes this mindset, this syndrome that the left has, but I know one thing. It is real. Which brings me to last week. Think about what the Democrats did last week. The Democrats released an email that the Oversight Committee had obtained from the estate, an email from Mr. Epstein to Ms. Maxwell. When the Democrats released it, they redacted the victim's name, something we all support, something everyone supports, except in this case, no court had ordered that name redacted, no agency had redacted it, and the estate didn't redact it. And the victim had already went public. So why black out her name? Why black out her name? Because she had said in her book and had testified under oath that she never saw any wrongdoing by President Trump. So think about what they did. In an email between two criminals, Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, in an email between two criminals, they hide the name of an individual who had went public and exonerated the president, and we know why. To distort and twist the message because they thought it might harm the president. Their position Cover up the names of people who are already public, but don't worry about other innocent people who the court said should remain private. Again, I think the American people see through it. They see through what the Democrats are doing. The American people know what this is. They know Democrats have nothing else to run on because of the success of this administration. So I say let's vote yes on this resolution, and then let's get focused on making sure we're doing what the American families elected us to do. With that, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
Today, 4 months and 3 days after Mr. Khanna and Mr. Massey introduced their discharge petition, perhaps the most famous discharge petition in American history, the People's House unites across party lines to draw a moral line. We draw a line against the rape and sexual violation of children. We draw a line against the global criminal trafficking of girls and young women to service the pleasure of rich and powerful men who believe they are beyond all law and all morality. We draw a line to put the voices of the victims and the survivors first. We ask the Senate to join us without changes rather than obstruct this bill with dilatory amendments, legislative graffiti, and self-dealing million-dollar jackpot provisions for lucky senators. Just pass the bill. We're finally voting today because a bipartisan discharge petition led by Representatives Massey and Khanna and signed by 218 of us overthrew the determined obstruction of the Speaker. This forced vote means the House will no longer acquiesce in this astonishing real-time cover-up of a multi-billion-dollar global sex trafficking and child rape ring that has ravaged the lives of more than 1,000 girls and young women. We're here today because these victims, these survivors, these citizens, these inspiring women who have come to Washington are demanding nothing less than justice and the complete truth about who is responsible for their vicious abuse, including those responsible for enabling it, ignoring it, bankrolling it, and covering it up. We join them today in rejecting any more dangerous lies about the crimes they suffered. No, child sex abuse is not a hoax. It's a crime. Human trafficking is not a hoax. It's a crime. These crimes are a curse on children and young people across America, in universities and elementary schools, in churches and mosques and synagogues, in Boy Scout troops and college sports teams and summer camps. Anywhere the powerful and the rich believe they've got the opportunity and the impunity to exploit the young, the poor, the powerless, and the vulnerable. We must face the truth and find the co-conspirators still at large in one of America's most extensive and sophisticated sex trafficking and child abuse rings in history. Release of the file will expose the role of everybody who facilitated and covered up these crimes, like J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, and Bank of New York Mellon, which executed billions of dollars in transactions related to these offenses, as well as any bank executives who participated in the sexual abuse of girls and young women. We must expose everyone who covered up these crimes, like Alex Acosta, the former U.S. attorney in Miami, Donald Trump's labor secretary, who gave Jeffrey Epstein an unbelievable sweetheart plea deal, immunized the unnamed conspirators, and killed an investigation into Epstein's financial crimes that could have brought down the entire criminal network. And with that, I'm going to yield. I'll reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 4 minutes to the distinguished chair of the House Oversight Committee, Mr. Comer, the gentleman from Kentucky.
The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As chairman of the House Oversight Committee, I've always believed that sunshine is the best disinfectant. For years, the American people have demanded transparency about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's horrific crimes and about the federal government's failure to protect the victims. The House Oversight Committee is conducting a thorough review of the federal government's investigation into Epstein. Our work goes far beyond the legislation before us today. We are committed to accountability, transparency, and justice for the American people and for the survivors of these appalling crimes. To date, the Oversight Committee has released more than 65,000 pages of documents, issued 13 subpoenas, and conducted interviews with 2 key witnesses, both of whom were Republicans. The Trump administration has provided us with Department of Justice materials and access to suspicious activity reports. Unfortunately, throughout this investigation, Democrats have chosen to manufacture yet another anti-Trump hoax instead of pursuing justice. They have mischaracterized witness testimony and selectively released documents complete with targeted redactions in an effort to smear President Trump. For example, former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr, who oversaw the 2019 Epstein investigation, stated clearly under oath that the prosecution team found no evidence that President Trump committed wrongdoing. Despite this simple and straightforward fact, Ranking Member Robert Garcia, moments after that deposition, tiptoed out and publicly claimed that, quote, Barr could not clear Trump of wrongdoing. That was a lie, and we have the transcript to prove it. I invite the media to read the transcript. When the Oversight Committee interviewed former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, Alex Acosta, Democrats whipped themselves into a frenzy trying to manufacture a gotcha moment. But they failed. Mr. Acosta dismantled the Democrats' narrative. His testimony confirmed there was no contact between President Trump and Mr. Acosta and no connection between President Trump in the Epstein case. Next, Democrats resorted to selective leaks and doctored documents to mislead the American people. Oversight Committee Republicans have posted 65,000 pages of documents we have received to date. Democrats, by contrast, have released fewer than 1 dozen. In their latest selective leak, Democrats released just three of the 23.
Okay, so as you can hear there, discussions ongoing at the House of Representatives about the bill that is on the floor that would, if it was approved, would lead to the classification of records, documents, communications, and investigative materials in the Department of Justice's possession that relate to the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. So again, that bill, H.R. 4405, is set to be voted on today by the House of Representatives that would potentially lead to the release of the so-called Epstein files. Now, if it goes through the House, then it goes to the Senate. If it goes through the Senate, then it would that bill would make its way to President Donald Trump's desk. And again, Trump has just recently said that he would, in fact, sign that bill. And so we'll continue to monitor that situation. We'll see if we get a vote while we're here on stream. But regardless, we will continue to report on that story as it develops, a story that has been ongoing for years and years here and seems close to a new step in its transparency. Okay, we are going to shift gears here for now. We will continue to monitor the House of Representatives and Capitol Hill, but for now, we're going to shift gears back to Hampton Roads. We're going to come back local, and we're going to talk about an event that is very near and dear to our hearts right here at 13 News Now. We are partners with Odyssey in a food drive that is going on today. The Neighbors Helping Neighbors food drive is happening right now. Pembroke Square parking lot near the Walgreens today from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. accepting non-perishable food donations. And you can swing by there anytime. And if you do, you may very well see Janet Roach, our main anchor here at 13 News Now, my partner on the 4 p.m. show. And Janet, how are things going out there? Yeah, how is it? Looks like you got a nice crowd behind you.
I do, and I'm not on the phone, Connor. I just want to clear that up. It's just I'm having a little trouble hearing you, so yeah, I just had to make sure I heard the toss. But yeah, we're doing it out here. We have music, we have lots of volunteers, and we have lots of food. Okay, so we're taking a look here as we walk up to the tent where folks are coming by and dropping off their donations. We had a bit of a lunch rush. cooled down just a little bit, but it's starting to pick up again. Are you here to donate? Okay, all right, she's picking up. But we have a lot of volunteers here, and these people have been working very, very hard. Now, I'm taking a look at the boxes. Now, the reason why these boxes are empty right now, because this is just the next group of boxes that they have set up to receive the next big batch of food. If you look over at the truck, have a pretty big truck behind us. We're going to take a look at that. There are at least 150 boxes already filled up, packed into this big truck, and ready to go to help so many people in need. You know, we're calling this neighbors helping neighbors. So 1 in 8 people are food insecure in this area. So you can imagine the need. You can imagine with some of the things that we've been talking about in the news. We've talked about the government shutdown. We've talked about the federal employees who have lost their jobs. We've talked about the furlough employees. We talk about the inflation. We talk about the tariffs. You put all that together, and it is a perfect storm that creates a tremendous need here in Hampton Roads. I'm going to talk a little bit to Jeremy. He's with the Food Bank of Southeastern Virginia and the Eastern Shore. So you've had a pretty good crowd come through here so far.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been here since 8 o'clock this morning. We've had a pretty steady flow of people donating food and funds, as well as an amazing collection of volunteers that have been here helping us unload and package up the boxes so that we can get them out to folks.
All right, now we've been talking about the need. I know last year you gave away, I think it was 24.5 million meals, but you are on track to really surpassing that number this year.
Well, with the emergency production needs and what we've been doing to help with the effects of the government shutdown, I mean, I think we are. The need hasn't changed. In fact, it's only gone up. So we're trying to do everything that we can to rise to meet that need as well.
Yeah, I know it was pretty tough even before the government shutdown. What were you seeing then?
So before the shutdown, we were already seeing roughly 10 to 20% increases in our lines, both our distributions as well as all of our various partner agencies around the service area. So it was already starting to be an impact even before the shutdown, and then benefits, or a certain amount of benefits, are going to see a reduction in that as well. So unfortunately, we're expecting the need to rise. We're having a lot of folks who are first-time food bank users that have never had to come to the food bank before.
Right, yeah.
So we're definitely seeing that the need is there, and we appreciate all of the folks that are coming out to support us today.
Can you compare this moment that we're in to any other time that you've seen?
So myself, no, I've been with the food bank about 2 years, but what I can tell you is those that have been around a lot longer, especially during the height of the challenges of the shutdown, we're hearing comparisons to what it was like during COVID. That was kind of the equivalency that we've had in our timeline. Definitely was more challenging than the shutdown in 2019. That went 35 days because there was more compounded issues. It wasn't just it's not just the shutdown. It's inflation and the rising cost of food right now, with wages not rising to meet that need. We're seeing a huge increase in our senior food insecurity community, people that are on fixed incomes whose incomes aren't changing to meet inflation needs. So that was already an issue coming into the holiday season, and now we're just trying to do everything we can to keep our heads above water so we can help as many neighbors as possible.
Yeah, keep your heads above water. That's so important. How does it make you feel when you see people take time out of their busy day? People who are like, hey, I'm going to go in my pantry and I'm going to empty it out. How does that make you feel to see that?
It's been fantastic. I mean, that's the kind of, if you want to take a silver lining out of it when there's a challenging time, seeing how the community steps up to support our volunteers, our donors, our corporate partners, our media partners, coming together to rise to meet that need. It does make it easier to sleep at night knowing that there's a lot of good people that really want to help as long as they know how.
Yeah, Hampton Roads always knows how to come through, They always reach in and have such a generous spirit. So yeah, we appreciate that. I've been warmed by the volunteers that I've seen come out here, took a couple of pictures, and so we're going to be out here until 6 o'clock. Talk a little bit more about what you're asking people to bring.
So as far as non-perishable food items go, some of the most high value stuff are your lean proteins. Your canned veggies and fruits are always good. Getting things to people that tend to be a little bit more expensive at times, and
Right.
first things that fall off the list when you're starting to have to pinch pennies a little bit. But also we can take non-food items as well. Hygiene products are phenomenal, baby products, especially diapers. We have the ability to distribute those to our neighbors in need as well. So just because we are the food bank doesn't mean we serve only in food. We will happily take that stuff and be able to get it out to folks as well.
Wonderful, wonderful work you're doing. Jeremy Rodden, the Director of Community Engagement for the Food Bank. And so thank you so much. We're going to be talking a lot more throughout the afternoon. Okay, he's going to be here, and I'm going to be here too. We're going to take a look over here. So I kind of want to show you the route that people are doing. So you have your volunteers. They're all here, and they're happy. Wave, hello, thank you so much, thank you. You have cars that drive up just right in front of this tent. They come by and they have their boxes and their bags and whatever else they want to donate. You can also, they have a bucket here in case you want to give money. And Michael, watch out for that curve. You're about to, okay, yes, I don't want him to fall over with us on TV. Okay, so then people come around this way, drop everything off here, and then they get busy and load up the truck. And again, like I said, there are about 150 boxes so far, and it's only like, 1 something in the afternoon. So we've done really well. We're going to take a look in one of the boxes here just to give you an idea of what people are donating. This gives you an idea of the kinds of things that we're looking for. Applesauce. No, actually, this is oatmeal. Oatmeal. Gluten-free chocolate cake mix. That'll be great for Thanksgiving. Carrots, mac and cheese, you can't go wrong with that. You see all this is non-perishable. Peanut butter, that's always good. What else do we have in here? I know they need a lot of canned proteins, so this is good. This is a good example of what we mean when we say canned meats. Chicken breast meat, great protein here, 70 calories a serving, by the way. So yeah, there's a lot here, and you heard Jeremy talk about some of the things that we're hoping people will bring out here. We have partnered with Odyssey, so you have the radio stations out here. You might hear the music. A little while ago, I was getting my little dance on just a little bit, having a good time. So yeah, we're going to be out here until 6 o'clock, Connor, and so come to us anytime, and I'll throw it back to you.
All right, Janet, thank you so much. What a fantastic live shot. I feel like we just went on a whole journey with you. First, I want to shout out Jeremy. Great interview. He's also wearing short sleeves out there. So very impressive stuff from Jeremy. I don't know how he's pulling that off.
Well, he's working hard. I'm watching him now load up some boxes. Yeah,
that's right. The only way to do the short sleeves out there is to just keep moving.
So that's why. Now, you know I don't have on short sleeves, but
no.
I'm not working quite as hard.
Well, you got to wear your 13 News Now jacket out there. That's a must. And then good job saving our beloved photographer, Michael Woodward, from tripping over the curb there. We saw that was near disaster, but a great save. Even more impressive, I believe you said 150 boxes, and then we saw the entire group of volunteers out there smiling, ready to work. I mean, just what a fantastic event. And you heard Janet, until 6 p.m., you can go out there, you can donate, you can hang with the volunteers, we're all in this together. Anything that you can do if you do have the resources.
We're like at the edge of the Kohl's parking lot. Right off Virginia
edge
Beach
of the
Boulevard.
Kohl's parking lot? Okay.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. We have a little bit of a delay with Janet here, but you heard her, edge of the Kohl's parking lot until 6 p.m. Thank you so much, Janet. You're the best. That was wonderful. Go rest up. I know you've got a lot of live shots coming up. We'll be hanging out with Janet throughout the day here on all of our platforms on 13 News Now. Thank you so much, Janet. Stay warm out there, and we'll check in with you again at 4 o'clock. All right, so Janet Roach, live out there at our Neighbors Helping Neighbors food drive. We apologize for some of the communication issues, a little bit of a delay in our signal getting out there because they are out there in Virginia Beach working hard to try and raise up some resources for those who need them most during this government shutdown. I'll go over one more time here. You heard non-perishable lean proteins are ideal. Canned veggies and fruit, also extremely helpful. And hygiene products as well, especially baby products and diapers are what they're looking for. But anything you can do to help is greatly, greatly appreciated, no matter how big or how small or what it is you're able to provide. It's someone out there needs it, and someone out there will greatly, greatly appreciate it. And we appreciate it here at 13 News Now as well for being a part of this thing that we're doing. Now, we're going to put the flyer up because you can also scan the QR code on your screen right there if you'd like to donate from home. If you can't make it out to Pembroke Square parking lot near the Kohl's today, feel free to scan that QR code and you can donate right straight through there from your living room or work or wherever it is you may be. And again, you know, we know that this is tough times for everybody. We know that it is a difficult situation for many people out there, including many people who may be watching right now. Anything you can do is greatly appreciated. If you are able to, it is awesome. If you are not at this moment, that is okay. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you thinking of us. We appreciate you keeping up with our stories about those in need and about SNAP benefits and about the government shutdown and how it has impacted families and communities and about potential cuts in health insurance and how that could do so as well. Whether you donate your time, your attention, your thoughts and prayers, or your resources and your food, whatever it is you're able to do, we really, really appreciate it here at 13 News Now. Neighbors helping neighbors. That is what it's all about. That is something that oftentimes there's talk in the country now, in America now, of the division that may exist. It is something that during the government shutdown, we saw a great deal of division, specifically between our two political parties, Republicans and Democrats. But keep in mind that we can always come together to help each other. And that is a part of our spirit that we want to make sure that we keep first, foremost, front and center, especially when times are hardest here, as they have been over the last few months. So just whatever you can do is greatly appreciated, and we will continue to check in with Janet Roach throughout the day. And what a great live shot from Janet there. She took us on a journey through the event that we have out there in the Pembroke parking lot. Okay. So that is what we've got going on locally. Now, I'm tempted to say that we go back out to the House floor here in terms of monitoring our live feeds, Naya. It's obviously a huge day in the House of Representatives as they are voting on the bill that could potentially lead to the release of the Department of Justice's possessions that relate to the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. So let's go back out to the House floor as they continue to debate that vote. And we'll go to that live, and then we'll see where we go from here. We are 1:45 p.m. here on this Tuesday. We are we've got another hour and 15 left in Live Impact News. We've got a lot to cover. A big day in Washington, D.C., a big day here in Hampton Roads. For now, let's go back out to Capitol Hill.
This would be a cover-up. We cannot allow clemency of any kind for Maxwell, not now, not ever. Survivors deserve justice. I urge a strong yes vote. Thank you.
Yields back.
I want to thank the gentleman for his eloquent remarks. Pardons are for people who are contrite. Pardons are for people who are repentant. Pardons are not for people who lie. Every member of this body should immediately, verbally, vocally denounce the idea of clemency, commutation, or pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell, and we reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Yeah, we reserve, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman reserves.
I yield 30 seconds to Ms. Leisure Fernandez.
The gentlelady is recognized.
There were thousands of girls and young women abused, trafficked, and used by Epstein, the elite and the powerful who believed they could get away with it. Epstein told the young victims that he controlled the banks and the government. Those women refused to be silenced, and today they have pierced the dark with their light. Anytime any girl is trafficked, molested, or abused, the world must stand up. Today, The House proves Jeffrey Epstein wrong. The Senate must do the same tomorrow.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from California. 1.5 minutes to the gentleman from California.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
I thank you, Chairman. Mr. Speaker, a minute and a half or an hour, the words would still have to be the same. We've all said that this will pass the House, perhaps unanimously today. I think all of us who have looked at the details of this particular bill know that it is flawed and that before it goes to the President's desk, it has to be amended as it can be amended in the Senate. And we call on the Senate to amend it so that we protect the innocent, so that we have the provisions that were intended perhaps to be in this bill but are not properly written. With that, President Trump has said, get it to his desk, he will sign it. President Trump has said he will do it. But I'm going to say to all of us, it is also important that we remember that Epstein is dead, but people live on, people who were innocent, people who in fact should not be named. We're not talking about the rich and the powerful, we're talking about the very victims. That is what we need to make sure is amended before it goes to the President's desk. And with that, I thank the chairman for his time. I think no more needs to be said that this body will vote for it all, but let's not kid ourselves. It has to be changed so that it properly protects both the tradition of the grand jury and clearly those innocent people that would otherwise be swept up. And I yield back.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
This whole bill is about protecting the innocent. Mr. Speaker, the Senate must pass the bill as we are passing it today and as the President has said he would sign it after changing his position on the bill over the weekend when he could see the tidal wave of public opinion moving against him. Let's pass this bill, pass it in the Senate, sign the bill, and let us go ahead and release the complete file. I yield 30 seconds to the distinguished gentlelady from Arizona, Representative Ansari.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, the walls are closing in on Donald Trump and his rich and powerful friends who either abused or raped children or were enabling and complicit in these heinous crimes for decades. This vote today matters, but here is the truth. Donald Trump could direct the Department of Justice to release the files today. He is choosing not to. They are already under subpoena, led by oversight Democrats, and have refused. This is an ongoing cover-up by the Trump White House, and Mike Johnson and the House has been complicit. What is Trump hiding? Why not release the files today? This is a
time has expired.
Release the files today. Thank you.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 2 minutes to the distinguished gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Van Drew.
The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
Today I want to talk about hypocrisy. Let me be clear. I was from Jumpstart, a co-sponsor of this very bill. From the beginning, we should never protect pedophiles. But for months, my Democratic colleagues have done what they think is politically convenient through all the yelling, through all the tears, through all the sadness. They say releasing the Epstein list is of grave concern to them. If that was true, where were they during the 4 years of the Biden presidency? Why didn't they demand the release of these files from Jumpstart in year 1? Mr. Speaker, why didn't they ask for them in year 2? Or if that wasn't good enough, maybe in year 3. They had control, or not even in his final year of office. Other than a single letter the ranking member wrote in 2019, a single letter, not one Democrat on the committee spoke out about Epstein or his victims of this very terrible tragedy, other than to say that he didn't like the plea deal. Let me say this. When they stand here today insisting how badly they want these files released, why didn't they do it? Yet they stayed silent for year after year after year after year under Joe Biden. It's impossible. Mr. Speaker, it is impossible to see that as genuine. What I see is a group more focused on scoring political points and drama than protecting abused children. The record is clear. Under Republicans, far more information has been released in the last 6 months than was done during all 4 years of the previous presidency under Joe Biden. We've actually been the party of transparency. We've released the information. We've told the truth. Unfortunately, and I'm sad to say it, they have been the party of hypocrisy. Mr. Chair, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
You know, I've never heard a more defensive presentation in my life than what we're hearing from over there. The gentleman should spend a little less time pointing out hypocrisy and a little more time trying to ferret out cruelty, humiliation, and rape. And that's what we're working on. I yield 30 seconds to the distinguished gentleman from California, Mr. Min.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
I want to remind you that we are all here voting on this bill because President Trump, who has the power to release the Epstein files at any time, has refused to do so, calling this a hoax. We're here because Speaker Mike Johnson and President Trump have gone to extraordinary lengths to try to kill and delay the discharge petition, including refusing to seat Adelita Grijalva for over 40 days and threatening House Republicans who signed on. Now, several of my Republican colleagues have accused those of us House Democrats who support justice here of having Trump derangement syndrome. You all suffer from something much worse, which is pedophile protection syndrome. Stop protecting pedophiles, release the Epstein files. The victims deserve justice. I yield back.
We reserve.
Members are reminded to direct their comments to the chair.
No kidding.
The gentleman from Maryland reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
We reserve.
The gentleman from Ohio reserves. The gentleman from Maryland.
I'm yielding 30 seconds to my friend, Representative Walkinshaw from Virginia.
The gentleman is recognized.
For years, Mr. Speaker, we have watched dangerous conspiracies like Pizzagate and QAnon shape our political landscape. They help fuel the rise of President Trump and were built on baseless claims about secret pedophile rings, while the real documented case of child sex trafficking involving Jeffrey Epstein remains shrouded in secrecy because President Trump refuses to release the files. What is President Trump hiding? Why won't he release the files? The House finally has the opportunity to act. Release the files and let the American people see the truth. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
We reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
We reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Granting 30 seconds to the very distinguished gentlelady who is finally with us, Representative Adelita Grijalva from Arizona 7th.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to acknowledge the survivors, family members, and advocates who are here today and have never given up. The legislation in front of us, at its core, is about something very simple. The survivors deserve justice. The American people deserve the truth. To every survivor watching, your courage is inspiring. You are the reason why this vote is happening today. Protecting women and children from pedophiles should not be a Democratic issue, should not be a Republican issue. It should be a human rights issue and a matter of justice. I urge my colleagues to vote yes on the Epstein Files Transparency Act. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, and we reserve.
The chair will remind all persons in the gallery that they are here as guests of the House and that any manifestation of approval or disapproval of proceedings is in violation of the rules of the House. The gentleman from Maryland.
Yeah, but I'll just add they're here as honored guests of the House, and we're delighted they're here, and with that, we reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Yeah, we reserve.
Okay, so obviously things heating up on the House floor. You've just heard right before we went to break from Adelita Grijalva. Adelita Grijalva, of course, was the representative from Arizona elected in a special election, and then her swearing in was delayed for some 50 days by House Majority Leader Mike Johnson. And her swearing in, once she was officially sworn in after the government reopened, she became the vote that was able to push through this bill onto the floor, onto the House floor. She was the deciding vote, or I should say not vote, but signature. She was the final signature from a representative that forced a vote on this bill, and that is the vote that we are waiting for today. So again, Adelita Grijalva, the woman who you heard from right there on the podium not long ago. Adelita Grijalva was elected in a special election in Arizona. After winning the election, her swearing in was delayed for some 50 days by House Majority Speaker Mike Johnson. Now, Johnson said it's because without the government open, he wouldn't swear in new representatives. Grijalva has said that she believes the delay was in order to prevent the release of the Epstein files, because once she was sworn in, she became the final signature needed to push this bill, to push this petition to a House vote, which we are waiting for now. So hopefully those dots connected in an easily understandable and digestible way. I know I kind of went all over the place there for a second, but all of these storylines surrounding today sort of converging all at once there on the House floor. Now, we want to take some time to go to the other side of this story. It has become so much about politicians and the powerful figures that serve to suffer the consequences of their involvement in this case. And of course, that is paramount. However, there is also another side of this case, which is the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, the victims who had to suffer for the various crimes that were committed under his organization. So we also heard from some of those victims today on Capitol Hill. We want to listen in on that pre-recorded press conference now so that we can hear their voices as the time comes near for a possible release of the files detailing these crimes and who may have been involved. But for now, let's listen in to some of the victims who spoke earlier today in Washington, D.C.
And introducing the other survivors. Haley Robson, thank you for your courage and leadership.
Absolutely. Thank y'all. Oh, good morning. It's a little chilly coming from Florida. Not used to it. I want everybody to take a look. I know everybody sees us today as grown adults, but we are fighting for the children that were abandoned and left behind in the reckoning. This is who you're fighting for. This is who Congress is fighting for. This is who the House of Representatives are fighting for, and hopefully the Senate will fight for us too. I want to kick this off right, and I want to address Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, and Rokana. I want to express my gratitude for all three of you, and I know, Rokana, we spoke earlier. This is an incredible thing that I'm watching as a Republican, and this is non-political, but for you to go against your own party and to be ostracized. There's no place for political violence. There's no place for intimidation. And I can say firsthand, stepping out against Epstein and his crimes against children, we have all experienced that ourselves. So for you to knowingly put yourselves at risk and put your career at risk is unbelievable to watch, and we are so grateful. I also want to make a proposition for Marjorie Taylor Greene, because you've been an advocate for this. If you decide to read those names on the House floor for immunity, I will be more than happy, no security needed. I will stand beside you. I will hold your hand. I will hold your coat in solidarity with you. And on top of that, I did talk to Jayapal, who said she would be more than happy to read those names too on the floor with all of us. It's time that we put the political agendas and party affiliations to the side. This is a human issue. This is about children. There is no place in society for exploitation, sexual crimes, or exploitation of women in society. There's no room for it, guys. We're not having it. And to the President of the United States of America, who is not here today, I want to send a clear message to you. While I do understand that your position has changed on the Epstein files, and I'm grateful that you have pledged to sign this bill, I can't help to be skeptical of what the agenda is. So, with that being said, I want to relay this message to you. I am traumatized. I am not stupid. I am traumatized. I am not stupid. You have put us through so much stress, the lockdowns, the halt of these procedures that were supposed to have happened 50 days ago. The Adelita Grijalva who waited to get sworn in, and then get upset when your own party goes against you because what is being done is wrong. It's not right. For your own self-serving purposes, this is America. This is land of the free. Land of the free. In 1863, we have a woman on top of the Capitol building represent freedom. I do not feel free today. I don't know if the women behind me feel free today. So I am begging every member of Congress, every representative, to step up and choose the chaos, choose the survivors, choose the children, protect the children. All children, you protect all of us equally. Thank you very much for your time. Following that, Lisa Phillips will be the next survivor.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Phillips. It's an honor to stand here again for something America is finally united on: the immediate release of the entire Epstein files. In a divided nation, this is one demand we all share. Last time I stood here, I made a promise to all survivors watching. If those in power refused to release the truth, we would start uncovering it ourselves. For anyone who doubted that moment has already arrived. Since that day, more survivors across the country and around the world have reached out. Text, emails, DMs, firsthand accounts, and evidence. Many are women who were abused or trafficked through the international modeling pipeline Epstein built, promising visas, apartments, opportunities, futures, while exploiting their dreams for abuse. Most are still terrified to speak publicly because the men involved are powerful. They're connected, and as we know, they're protected. For too long, survivors have watched others speak for us. And while we are grateful for our allies in Congress on both sides, we've realized something. This fight belongs to us. We lived it, and we know the truth. And we will not wait quietly for institutions to decide when we're allowed to speak. The survivors now coming forward have entrusted us with their stories. We are sharing that information with the proper authorities, and when it can safely be made public, it will be. So today, we are launching something historic. The first national, survivor-led political movement in America. Nonpartisan, laser-focused on exposing the systems, the loopholes, power structures, and silencing mechanisms that have protected predators for far too long. We are stepping directly into the halls of power, into the political arena. We will help rewrite laws that failed us and build protections for our nation's children together, targeted by sexual exploitation. Together, today, survivors begin our own fight, the survivor revolution. And we intend to change this nation for the better. If you're a survivor who wants to join us, please reach out. And to anyone who benefits from the current system, intentionally or not, remember this. Alone, yes, we are afraid. But together, we are feared. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I am Jenna Lisa Jones, and just as Haley, I would just like to give a little reminder that this was me at 14 years old. I was a child. I was in 9th grade. I was hopeful for life and what the future had held for me. He stole a lot from me at 14. So just a little reminder there for everybody. Sorry. So, I just want to start out by saying thank you for all of you for being here today. I want to start by expressing my deepest gratitude to the members of Congress who have stood with us, the survivors, in demanding the transparency and justice. Your support is a signal that this institution can still serve the American people. This issue was never one that should have divided us the way it has. In fact, it should have united us. Sexual abuse is not a Republican issue. It is not a Democratic issue. It is also not a hoax. We are here as American survivors of a man who used his wealth and power to hurt young girls and women. The world should see the files to know who Jeffrey Epstein was and how the system catered to him and failed us. Emotionally, this process has been distressing. First, the administration said it would release everything and then applauded President Trump for that. Then it fought to release nothing. Now that checks and balances of our democracy have worked and the bill is getting passed to release the files, we are hearing the administration say they intend to investigate various Democrats who were friends with Epstein. I beg you, President Trump, please stop making this political. It is not about you, President Trump. You are our president. Please start acting like it. Show some class. Show some real leadership. Show that you actually care about the people other than yourself. I voted for you, but your behavior on this issue has been a national embarrassment. It is time to take the honest, moral ground and support the release of these files, not to weaponize pieces of the files against random political enemies that did nothing wrong, but to understand who Epstein's friends were, who covered for him, what financial institutions allowed his trafficking to continue, who knew what he was doing but was too much of a coward to do anything about it. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were able to recruit and abuse young girls and women. Then the country will learn nothing, and has horrible history will repeat itself if we do not do something about this. Thank you to the brave congressmen and women who have stood by us and recognized our side is the American side, and we should all be proud once again to be Americans. I want to just extend my thank you so much to all three of you very, very much. The first time we were here, listening to the, people yell shame at you, and when she was here in support of us, really hit home and spoke some volumes, and I just very much appreciative of your support, and we stand by you. Don't let any of them bully you. We're here for you. Thank you, guys.
Wow. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming together today and taking the time to listen to us. Your presence means the world, and it shows commitment to understanding and supporting survivors and Americans. I stand before you today with a heavy heart. I originated from Brazil, and I came to the United States when I was 8 years old. I was only 14 when I first encountered Jeffrey Epstein, and my daughter is now almost at that age. At 14, the only things she should be concerned with are going to school, practicing at her cheerleading competitions, and enjoying her time with her friends and family. She should not have to bear the burden of worrying about being manipulated or exploited. At this age, she is still a child, and no child
All right, so there you heard, emotional, difficult to listen to testimony from former victims, of Jeffrey Epstein. And that, of course, comes on the day that the House of Representatives is voting on a bill that would, if approved by both the House and the Senate, as well as signed into law by President Trump, lead to the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files that the Department of Justice currently holds. So a little bit of added context there, hearing from victims outside of Capitol Hill. Now, speaking of the House of Representatives, the action on the floor is ongoing as they continue to discuss H.R. 4405, the bill that we were referencing just a second ago. So let's go back live out to the House right now.
Called for. So we don't need anybody calling for the Senate to slow things down for more weeks and more months. The American people have had it. We'll reserve.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman is reminded to direct your comments to the chair and not your colleagues. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized, and you do have 90 seconds remaining. Correction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 30 seconds to the gentleman from Texas.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
The Democrat Party, with help from the dishonest media, used the Epstein files not to seek justice for the victims, but to smear President Trump. And it's sickening, quite sickening, The Democrats have used the Epstein files to distract the American people from the wins President Trump and his administration have delivered for the American people for the last 11 months. I'm proud to work with my Republican colleagues on the House Oversight Committee in coordination with the Justice Department. 65,000 pages of documents are related from Epstein released. What have my Democrat colleagues done? They selectively leaked and altered documents to mislead the American people. As President Trump has stated, we have nothing to hide here. I'm voting to release the files so that we can move on from this smear campaign the Democrats have manufactured. God bless
Gentleman's
Donald J.
time has
Trump.
expired. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Ohio reserves. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
All right. How much time do I have to close?
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank all of America for tuning in to this. I want to thank Representatives Massey and Khanna, Representative Green, all of those who have insisted upon bringing the truth forward and a reckoning with the reality of one of the worst international child sex trafficking rings ever to exist in the United States and the cover-up attendant to it. We've got the opportunity today to do justice for the victims, for the survivors who have come forward to say that the voice of the victims and the survivors must be put at the very center of our deliberations. Not shunted off to the side, not submerged, not subordinated, but put at the very center. We must hear from the people who themselves were victimized by this nightmare. Now, our colleagues across the aisle seem to want to make this into some sort of partisan contest. I haven't heard so much talk about the Democrats since the Democratic National Convention. And all that we've done here is to say, we want to bring the truth forward, along with a bipartisan group. We don't want the Senate monkeying around with this in order to slow things down. We want it passed in the Senate. We want it signed. And before that, if the president is true to his word and he wants to see all of this come to light, he can release it now, instead of fighting, kicking, and screaming every step along the way. But I'm glad he's changed his mind, and I hope he maintains the momentum he's got to stick with the vast majority of the American people who want to see that the truth is done here. And while he's at it, the administration could reconsider their terrible policies gutting federal offices and programs designed to combat violence against women. The DOJ terminated hundreds of grants to police departments, defunding the police when it comes to investigating violent sex crimes and to support victims. His DOJ destroyed programs to combat international human trafficking rings. Let's get back on the side of the women. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker Johnson said it right. Why now after 4 years of doing nothing? Because going after President Trump is an obsession with these guys. Best example is John Brennan testified in front of our committee under oath, said he was not involved with the dossier. Only problem is Tulsi Gabbard declassified a report, released that report, and it said exactly the opposite. And she related a story in there where a CIA official went up to Mr. Brennan and said, we shouldn't include this in the report. And John Brennan's response was, yeah, but doesn't it ring true? Forget the facts, forget the truth, go after Trump, put it in. Same dynamic at work here. We're all for protecting innocent victims. We're all for exposing the bad guys who did bad things. But this is an obsession with the left. For 10 years, it's going after President Trump. So vote yes. Make sure the bad guys are held accountable. We all want to do that. Speaker Johnson's right. I think it's going to be unanimous. But understand what they're doing, because they had 4 years and didn't do a darn thing. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 4405? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without
Can I request
objection,
a recorded vote, Mr. Speaker?
The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Yeah, I'm requesting a recorded vote.
The gentleman from Maryland has requested a recorded vote. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20, this 15-minute vote on the motion to suspend the rules will be followed by 5-minute votes on ordering the previous question on House Resolution 879, adoption of House Resolution 879 if ordered, and adoption of House Resolution 878. This is a 15-minute vote.
Okay, so you're seeing this vote come in now, sort of a live tally that we're watching here. I will go over once again. You see it's H.R. 4405. That is the bill that we've been talking about. That is the Epstein Files Transparency Act. I'll go through very quickly here. This bill requires the Department of Justice to publish all unclassified records, documents, communications, and investigative materials in the Department of Justice's possession that relate to the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. This includes materials that relate to Ghislaine Maxwell, flight logs and travel records, and individuals named or referenced, including government officials, in connection with the investigation and prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein. The DOJ is permitted to withhold certain information, such as the personal information of victims and materials that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. Additionally, no later than 15 days after the required publication, the DOJ must report to Congress all categories of information released and withheld, a summary of any redactions made, and a list of all government officials and politically exposed individuals named or referenced in the published materials. So that is the bill in its entirety, according to Congress.gov. And as you see, the yeas in a heavy domination over the nays when it comes to this vote. If that makes any sense. It is so far 67 yeses and 0 nays from this vote to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 4405. Now, we may stick with this as the vote continues here. I don't know exactly how long it will take. The tally has been steadily coming in as we go. There has not been any sort of break yet. Maybe what we could do, Naya, is perhaps we could pull up in boxes myself, the vote, and the car that appears ready to leave from the White House on Channel 4. And maybe we could monitor it that way. We can touch on a couple of other things that are happening while we go through this. But again, the House floor, a vote happening as we speak. There is a clock on the bottom of the screen. I did not see that initially with a sort of a 12-minute countdown that they've got going on. I guess that's all the time they have to get their vote in on, again, the Epstein Files Transparency Act that would unclassify records, documents, communications, and investigative materials that the DOJ possesses related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. So that vote is happening right now as far as we can tell. 35 yeses from Republicans, 0 noes, 48 yeses from Democrats, 0 noes. When it comes to the vote so far, that's 83 total yeses and 0 noes so far when it comes to this vote. And again, with this vote, the bill will then move to the Senate. The Senate will vote, and then the bill will move to President Donald Trump's desk. Not long ago, on this very program, we heard from survivors of some of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes. That was a powerful and emotional press conference outside of Capitol Hill, now in the building, in front of which those people spoke, a vote happening on whether or not to potentially release that material. So that is what we're looking at right now. Now, while we wait for those votes to continue cycling in, I will point you back to the bottom of your screen. This is also a story that we have already talked about quite a bit with President Donald Trump and the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS as we may call him throughout this report. They met in the Oval Office earlier today. We were able to listen in to the tail end of that meeting. We did record it from the very beginning, so potentially we'll be able to listen to more of the comments from early in that meeting. It's something that will just depend on how much time we have here in Live Impact News. But in the Oval Office, President Donald Trump and MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, spending time together. They will continue to do so at a dinner tonight. Trump hosting a dinner for the Saudi leader. ABC News, Trump actually said in the Oval Office meeting, 118 guests, I believe is what Trump said. ABC News reporting Elon Musk is slated to attend, marking his first time back in the White House after he left the Department of Government Efficiency. Soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo, who plays in the Saudi Pro League, will also be at the White House on Tuesday. And of course, in Saudi Arabia, an incredible amount of money related to oil, and a lot of that money controlled by the government. A lot of that money, the Crown Prince, MBS, is able to dictate where that goes and how that is spent, according to reports. Now, I think it's worth noting that this is the first time that MBS has been to the States, has been to Washington, D.C., since the 2018 killing of Jamal Khashoggi. Jamal Khashoggi was a journalist for the Washington Post. Some of his reporting had been critical of the Saudi Arabian regime in power, or at least that is how it seemed based on the writing, and he was killed in a Saudi consulate in Turkey in 2018. So that is kind of currently something that is being rectified, I suppose, or not necessarily rectified, but with a visit to Washington, D.C. for the first time since an event that led to many in the international community, many in the global community sort of denouncing the murder of a journalist, or excuse me, the killing of a journalist in that particular situation. And now foreign relations, at least with the United States, at least based on this current interaction, thawing a bit for the Saudi Arabian regime in power and the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince MBS with his arrival here in Washington, D.C. Now, Naya, I saw you sort of put your hand up there very briefly. Do you have an update for us on the vote or anything else going on?
No, I was going to say, since we have 7 minutes to this vote is over, did you want to listen in to Trump and the Saudi Arabia Crown Prince, their conversation earlier?
Sure.
In the meantime.
Yeah, no problem. Let's. I'm going to do this very quickly here. That is a great idea, Naya. I'm going to give a little bit more information on the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, excuse me. The Crown Prince has previously denied ordering the murder of Khashoggi, but ultimately acknowledged responsibility as the kingdom's de facto ruler. In 2021, a report from the U.S. intelligence community found, quote, "We assess that Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman approved an operation in Istanbul, Turkey to capture or kill Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi." Again, Jamal Khashoggi worked for the Washington Post as well. So just trying to add as much context as we can under this international meeting happening at the Oval Office today. And let's go out to that international meeting. This is a pre-recorded clip from the meeting. Let's go to it now and listen in as MBS and President Donald Trump spoke earlier today in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, we're doing really well. And this, you don't see what we're doing so much because we have, although the construction industry sees it. If you look at Caterpillar, who's been incredible, the tractors, everything else, the numbers that we're doing in construction are unbelievable. Some of the plants that we're building, AI, and they're building their own electric with the plant. I gave them the right to build their own electric with the plant because no country, frankly, will have this. China's working very hard to produce enough electric, but we're beating China substantially at AI, which is a big thing. And we had a great meeting 2 weeks ago with President Xi, but on AI, we're doing well. And I have a man, David Rommel.
Yes, sir.
David, could you say a few words about what you're seeing on the job front and all of the some of the assets, and also how we've been helped by the Saudis in terms of the kind of investment they've made, please?
Yeah, most certainly. Thank you for the opportunity. I am a facility leader for GE Renova. And if you look at the landscape for GE Vernova investment, over $750 million in the U.S. focused on true manufacturing jobs here stateside. We're looking at tripling the output of our Greenville, South Carolina facility, where we make the gas turbines that are supporting U.S. needs as well as the Saudi Arabia needs.
Right.
So real jobs, $300 million in gas investment, resulting in over 500 pieces of new equipment being installed in the Greenville, South Carolina facility. That translates into roughly 1,800 jobs across the board for GE Vernova as we try to scale capacity to be able to meet this demand. Along with that, we're partnering with local communities to build the skill set that's required to meet these capacity needs. So that talent pipeline is incredibly important. So it's real jobs in the manufacturing space.
Well, you've been great, and thank you very much. And we love that state. I won that state by record numbers. I won a lot of states by record. Texas, a lot of them by Indiana. We're working with Indiana or something right now. We won that. We won a lot of them by records, but that was one of them. I want to thank you very much. Say hello to everybody. Great job. You're doing a great job. Thank you. So just in wrapping up, we'll take a couple of questions, but I want to just tell you what an honor it is to be your friend. And I very much appreciate the investment of now $1 trillion, okay? I'm glad you got that out. I didn't want to be the one to tell them, but that's great news.
We keep increasing, Mr. President.
I know.
Each time the opportunities are just increasing more and more.
Well, the opportunities, right? You know, we're doing better. Even if you look back 6 months ago, I mean, now all of a sudden you feel even better. So, and I think we're only going to go in one way. Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. President, have you approved the export licenses for advanced chips to Saudi Arabia? The export licenses?
We are working on that. We're negotiating that right now. Marco, do you want to talk about that, or Scott?
Well, I mean, that's part of what we may have announcements on that later today. But that's what we've been working on is the mechanics by which something like that could be achieved. And it's part of the broader process, part of this broader engagement and cooperation between our two countries.
Certain levels of chips, yeah.
And for the Crown Prince, Your Royal Highness, you're talking about $1 trillion of investment. Could the kingdom continue to do that with oil prices in the mid-60s?
Yeah, we are not creating fake opportunities to, please America, please President Trump. It's real opportunities. For example, when you ask about the AI and the chips, Saudi Arabia have a huge demand a huge need of computing power, and we're going to spend in the short term around $50 billion by consuming those semiconductors for our needs in Saudi Arabia. And with the agreement that we're going to have with South America, that will allow us to focus that consuming power in short term by $50 billion from the South America, and long term with hundreds of billions of dollars in the long term. So there is a lot of real opportunities that fit to our need in Saudi Arabia and fit to our investment strategy.
Mr. President, is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news, ABC fake news, one of the worst in the business. But I'll answer your question. I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion, that I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Okay, just you ask, Mr. President, if you allow me to answer. I feel painful about, families of 9/11 in America, but, we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden, he used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buying that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism. About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or nothing illegal way. And it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc. in Saudi Arabia. And we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that. And it's painful and it's a huge mistake. And we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. The Crown Prince has been instrumental in helping lifting the sanctions on Syria. Will there be any joint investment between the U.S. and Syria? And will you visit Damascus?
Are you from Syria?
No, but
Where are you from?
I'm from Palestine.
Oh, making a lot of progress, huh? Very good. Well, they like me. The Palestinians like me. The Palestinians are doing very well, actually. I think we're working very closely with a lot of people to make everybody happy, including Israel, the Palestinians, and everybody. That's very interesting. No, I think that I will tell you, the Crown Prince called me, and he specifically asked me if I would lift the sanctions on Syria, because he wants to see Syria make it. As you know, the leader of Syria was just here. We had a great meeting, and he's a strong guy, and I guess you need a strong person to run it. And I think Syria's made tremendous progress. We did lift the sanctions at the request of the Crown Prince. Also, the president of Turkey, Erdogan, called me specifically. He said, if you don't lift the sanctions, Syria doesn't have a chance. If you do, they have a very good chance. And between the two of them and some others, I lifted the sanctions. And the results so far have been pretty good.
Mr. President, can I ask you a question about the F-35s that are being sold to Saudi Arabia? Are these the same ones that are being used by the Israeli military? And if so, how does that allow for the qualitative military edge for Israel? And then I want to ask you, because you brought up the plight of the Palestinians, are you aware of relocation flights to South Africa that are taking place right now?
Which flights?
There are relocation flights that are taking place. Some Palestinians are being charged up to $2,000 a seat.
I'm not going to South Africa for the G20 because I think their policies on the extermination of people are unacceptable. So I'm not going. So I won't refer to anything having to do with South Africa. South Africa has behaved extremely badly. But I will say that when you look at the F-35 and you're asking me, is it the same? I think it's going to be pretty similar, yeah.
How will that
This
affect-
is a great ally, and Israel's a great ally. And I know they'd like you to get planes of reduced caliber. I don't think that makes you too happy. They've been a great ally. Israel's been a great ally. And we're looking at that exactly right now. But as far as I'm concerned, I think they are both at a level where they should get top of the line. Yes, please.
Can I just quickly ask for the Crown Prince, if I could just ask about the direct talks between U.S.
It's all right. Steve, 1 second. Go ahead.
Have you reached an agreement on a U.S.-Saudi defense treaty today? And are you going to bring up the Abraham Accords in your discussion?
I already brought them up.
What did you say?
I think I got a positive response. Would you like to respond?
Yeah, so definitely we believe having a good relation with all Middle Eastern countries is a good thing, and we want to be part of the Ibrahim Accord, but we want also to be sure that we secure a clear path of two-state solution. And today we have a healthy discussion with Mr. President that we're going to work on that to be sure that we can prepare the right situation as soon as possible to have that.
I think we're, I don't want to use the word commitment, but we've had a very good talk on the Abraham Accords. We talked about one state, two state. We talked about a lot of things in a short period of time. We'll be discussing it further, too. But I think you have a very good feeling toward the Abraham Accords.
Yes, definitely, Mr. President. We want peace for the Israelis. We want peace for the Palestinians. We want them to coexist peacefully in the region, and we will do our best to reach that day.
And the defense agreement, have you reached agreement on that?
We pretty much have.
Quick question for the Crown Prince, if I could just finish.
We have reached agreement on that. Okay.
I wanted to ask you about the direct talks between the United States and Iran. Have you been fully briefed on that, and are you concerned at all about how this might impact Saudi security interests?
Well, we are close ally. We'll be working closely together on that issue, and we will do our best to help to reach a deal between the rest of America and Iran. And we believe it's good for Iran's future to have a good deal that will satisfy the region and the world and the rest of America. So we will do our best to see that day happen.
And by the way, Iran does want to make a deal. I can say I think they very badly want to make a deal. I am totally open to it, and we're talking to them, and we start a process. But it would be a nice thing to have a deal with Iran, and we could have done it before the war, but that didn't work out. And something will happen there, I think. But they would very much like, I mean, they may say something else, but they would very much like to have a deal.
Mr. President, you announced that you are going to sell 35 F-35 jets. You said you are planning to sell the F-35 jets to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Is it part of the security agreement? And how you assess the defense partnership between Saudi Arabia and the United States? And the question for the
Well, no, I just said it. I mean, we're going to sell them F-35s. That's the end of the question, I guess.
Is it part of the security agreement or no?
No, we're going to have a deal. They're going to purchase F-35s. They're buying them from Lockheed, and it's a great plane. We make, by the way, the best military equipment. You saw that during the Iran little skirmish. We make the best planes, the best missiles. We make the best offensive missiles. We make the best military equipment in the world.
Nice. For His Royal Highness, I would like to ask you about how you see the cooperation between the United States and Saudi Arabia in the advanced technological field, especially AI, and how it will support Saudi Arabia to serve its goal to achieve the vision of 2030.
Well, I will try to answer that in short, but definitely there's a lot of interest in many industries between Saudi Arabia and America, and we are signing a lot of agreements in different areas that will really add value to American economy, but also to add value to us in Saudi Arabia. And AI, it's critical for us because one of the long-term problems that we could have is lack of workforce. As you've seen in the past few years, some of them have reached 30% of the global immigration to Saudi Arabia. So we know that to assure the Saudi Arabia GDP growing with the lack of workforce that we have, we need to use a lot of computing power to replace job in the long term. So that's huge demand in Saudi Arabia, and we want to link it to American private sectors and getting the supply from America. So there's a lot of opportunities in that area.
And we're also involved in AI in Saudi Arabia. So we're working, and we're leading by a lot on AI. Actually a lot. China would be in second place, but we're leading by a lot. And I have to say this, and our relationship with China has been very good. And as far as buying our farm products, they're pretty much on schedule, Scott. I'd like you to call them, say if they could speed it up, it would be good. Okay, but they're pretty much on schedule.
Saudi Arabia, please. If I may, I have a question for both the Crown Prince and President.
Who are you?
I'm Faisal Abbas from Arab News, Saudi Arabia, Your Excellency.
It should be a friendly question.
Your Royal Highness, just picking up on something you've just mentioned about how some people try to destroy the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States. Perhaps, since the launch of the vision, we've been used to having the bigger picture and that everything fits into the bigger picture. Might you want to elaborate a little bit about where is the relationship, the bilateral relationship, the strategic partnership between Saudi Arabia and the United States heading, and what's the big picture there?
Well, I don't think it's a relation that we can replace it from the Saudi side or the American side. It's a critical relationship for our political attempt, for our economical attempt, for our security, for our military, for many things. And it has been there for 9 decades, and the opportunities that we have today, it's huge, and seems that it's going to get deeper in the next few decades. And what we are having today and tomorrow with President Trump, it's really a huge new chapter in this relation that will add value to both of us.
You know, when you think about it, I'm just sitting here. You're with the future king. a man who's respected by everybody, a man that doesn't have to be doing this, really. I don't have to be doing it either. And yet we're sitting here taking questions, we didn't say, oh, you can't talk about this. And there's never been transparency like this, even in his country, but there's never been, in our country, that's been acknowledged. But we didn't put restrictions, and I'm saying it's sort of wonderful to be taking questions from all over the world. Everybody's here. This is just a small group representative of tremendous numbers of media that are outside, that are very jealous that these people were so selected. But they're representing a lot of people that are outside. I think it's terrific that we can be sitting here being this open, and I think it's really a wonderful thing. Yeah.
If you don't mind, I have a personal question for you.
Okay, here we go. I should have said that.
So apart from everything you mentioned in your opening remarks, you forgot to mention that you've de-escalated 7 wars since you started. At least in our part of the world, you are seen as a peacemaker. And adding that to all the executive orders and everything else you've mentioned, I really have to wonder, in your speech in Saudi Arabia, I was there, you said that His Royal Highness does not sleep at night thinking how he does things better. We wonder in Saudi Arabia, how do you manage your own time? And what's your formula for managing?
He does not sleep much, and I don't sleep much. I think we have the same schedule. We're thinking about our countries. And if you sleep a lot and you're president, we just had one that slept more than any president. He broke every record. He sleeps all the time, during the day, during the night, on the beach. The only guy could fall asleep on the beach with the press watching. No, he's not a sleeper. I'm not a sleeper. We don't. We talk at night. We can talk. I can call him almost any time. He goes, hi, how you doing? It's like at craziest times. But no, when you love your job, when you love your country, and when you're in a position like we are, future king, highly respected, crown prince, and in my case, president, you're thinking about your.
All right, we're going to go back out to the House vote. Sorry to cut off that meeting in the Oval Office, but we're going back out to the House where there is some information on the vote.
Motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 8, Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on ordering the previous question on House Resolution 879, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Calendar Number 47, House Resolution 879. Resolution providing for consideration of the joint resolution, Senate Joint Resolution 80, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by the Bureau of Land Management relating to National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska Integrated Activity Plan Record of Decision, providing for consideration of the joint resolution, House Joint Resolution 130, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by the Bureau of Land Management relating to Buffalo Field Office Record of Decision and approved Resource Management Plan Amendment, providing for consideration of the joint resolution, House Joint Resolution 131.
Okay, so things were already wrapping up when we went back out to the House, but from simply watching the votes come in, what we saw was 427 yes, 1 nay, and then 5 under the NV column. So near unanimous based on that count that we saw with no time remaining on the motion to suspend the rules and pass H.R. 4405, otherwise known as the Epstein Files Transparency Act. So if all of that holds, if all of that is as it seemed based on observation, then that bill will now move to the Senate as it has passed through the House of Representatives. So the Epstein Transparency Act now passes to the United States Senate after the vote goes through in the House of Representatives. So that will be the next step. That will be something that we, of course, will cover every step of the way for you here on Live Impact News and at 13 News Now in general. So a major breakthrough in the push for transparency when it comes to the alleged crimes of Jeffrey Epstein and anyone who may have been involved in them. It has been a long road to get to this point, and we heard from survivors earlier in the day speaking outside of the Capitol building, and just listening to their testimony, it became just another perspective, added perspective to how important this is and how people have been impacted by, again, the alleged crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. So, okay, so that vote on the House goes through. We weren't sure if that would happen during Live Impact News, but it does. Now, we just spent quite a bit of time in the Oval Office with President Donald Trump and the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS as he's known for short at times, or Mohammed bin Salman. They talked about a number of different things, a lot of things that we have already gone over here, both in terms of this being the first visit since Jamal Khashoggi, a journalist for the Washington Post, was killed at a Saudi consulate in Turkey. That was addressed by the Crown Prince, who did say that they are doing what they can to make sure something like that doesn't happen again. We told you right here on this show that a CIA investigation, a report from the intelligence community overall, assessed that Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman approved an operation in Istanbul, Turkey to capture or kill Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. But the MBS saying right there during what we saw there, it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation in Saudi Arabia. We've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that, and it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again. So, again, a number of different topics being touched on. I am trying to make sure through my notes that each comment is ascribed carefully to the topic at hand, because they also discussed 9/11. 9/11 did come up as MBS addressed both 9/11 and Khashoggi. So a number of different comments coming in. We're trying to make sure that we're as organized as possible in relaying that information to you. But why don't we do this? Why don't we listen in once again? Sometimes I get trying to add so much context to these comments that I lose sight of the fact very briefly that we can listen ourselves to the meeting in the Oval Office. So let's listen back in, and that way all of the context will be clear and apparent. Okay.
In a pretty tough part of the world, tricky part, right? Tricky part, a lot of tricky people. But he thinks about his country, and I think about my country. I don't want to sleep.
President Trump, do you expect a formal civil nuclear deal to be reached soon? Can you talk to us about that aspect
With
of
who?
with Saudi Arabia?
I can see that happening. Yeah.
Do you think that an agreement will happen today?
It's not urgent. It's always when you have civil nuclear, but you have more oil than almost anybody else. We actually have more oil and gas than they do, but I refuse to say that. We have more than anybody. Can you imagine?
And on the F-35s, are those sales? Israel had reportedly wanted those sales to be conditioned on Saudi Arabia moving to normalized
Israel
relations.
will be happy. Israel is going to be
Is that a
happy.
condition of the F-35?
Israel's aware, and they're going to be very happy. Okay? Yeah, please. Hello.
Hi, hello. My name is Amal Hazan from Sharq Al-Awsat newspaper, from Riyadh, of course. I have a question for the Crown Prince and for you, Mr. President. Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, how much you expected from developing the cooperation with the United States in the field of new energy, AI, supply chain? How much you expected from that?
No limit. We just continue pushing forward. There's no limit. So we just push forward for all the opportunities that we have.
You have to understand, this is really a great ally. Yeah. Just the fact that they're now doing, I came in here at 6, I did not know that. I was pushing for the 1 trillion, but he didn't tell me that. Now he told me. This is a great ally of ours. You know, when you invest $1 trillion, that's national security for us too, because it creates jobs, it creates a lot of things. And I would say, Scott, right, when you here one country is putting $1 trillion into the United States. That creates national security. And, you know, I think that they don't have to say that, but I think a big part of that is also the fact that tariffs are in play. But even beyond tariffs, that's a real ally that will do that. Creates a lot of power for the United States.
We are also in Saudi Arabia very happy because this much of Saudi the money is a function here, and of course it's come back for us for benefits. So it's complementary interest. So this is the I think what's different friends and ally do.
Well, look, I love the country of Saudi Arabia. I know the people very well. The level of treatment that we go when we go to Saudi Arabia is something that is incredible. And the people like us, and I think they really like America, especially when I'm president. I mean, I don't think they liked America so much maybe for 4 years recently. I think Obama treated Saudi Arabia very, very badly, as you know. And I think Biden didn't have any idea where the hell he was. So I don't think Biden knew the difference.
How would you describe the future relationship with Saudi Arabia? I mean, from the strategic aspects, how would you describe that?
Say the relationship is with?
I
would say top of the line. It's as good as it can. I don't think it can get much better. We have a country that trusts us, and that's why they make that investment. If they didn't trust us, they couldn't make that investment. And we trust them. They've been very reliable. Now I rebuilt our military in my first term, and we spent trillions of dollars, and we gave away some of it in Afghanistan stupidly because we had stupid people running our country. But we gave away, but that's as much as it was. It's a tiny fraction of what we put here. And we're bringing our military to a new level, the highest level ever. We have those plants are going out. And again, it's all American jobs and everything, so it's good for a lot of reasons. But as far as Saudi is concerned, no, I don't think our relationship could be better. I don't think they had a great relationship under Biden, and I don't think they had a great relationship under Obama. But they have a great relationship under Trump. When we did the Presidential Walk of Fame, you saw that, right? And we're walking, and I asked the Crown Prince, so outside of Trump, because I blow everyone away, who was the best president for Saudi Arabia? And you could maybe, it's an interesting answer, I don't know.
Roosevelt, who started it, which is a Democrat. And Reagan, he's one of the historical presidents that have close ties with Saudi Arabia. But we've worked with all presidents.
Does Trump blow them all away?
No, it's another league, Mr. President.
Mr. President?
And Trump doesn't give a fist pump. I grabbed that hand. I don't give a hell where that hand's been. I grabbed that hand. Remember Biden? He travels for 20 hours, gets out, and he gives a fist bump. No. When you get out of the plane and you got the future king and the man who's one of the most respected people in the world, you shake his hand. You don't give him a fist bump, right? We don't want to ask you about that, but I can't imagine you were thrilled. You were like a little bit surprised. He's a fantastic guy. You don't do that. Yeah, please.
We're getting closer to the end of the year. Have you started the interviews for the Fed chair?
Yes.
Who have you interviewed?
I think I already know my choice.
Who is it?
Well, I liked him, but he's not going to take the job. He refused. You like Treasury better, right?
Much better, sir.
So we are talking to various people. And frankly, I'd love to get the guy currently in there out right now. But people are holding me back. He's done a terrible job, hurting housing a little bit. The truth is, we've been so successful, we've blown past his interest rate stupidity. He's been wrong. That's why I call him too late. He's too late. Jerome Too Late Powell. He was recommended to me by a guy that made a bad choice. And it's too bad. But despite that, it's having very little impact because we have all of these things happening. But it has an impact on housing to a certain extent. He's a fool. He's a stupid man. But we have some very good people.
Yes, sir. you'll be sitting down with them in the near future? And
We have some surprising names, and we have some standard names that everybody's talking about. And we may go the standard way. You know, it's nice to every once in a while go politically correct. But we have some great names. Steve,
Have you
please.
talked to President Maduro of Venezuela yet? Are you still open to that?
He wants to talk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm open to talk. I talk to everybody. But no, he wants to. They treated us very badly. They sent all of their prison population into the United States, and we're getting them out rapidly. But he sent all of his, and he sends drugs into the United States and other things. No, he treated us badly. He was dealing with a bad president, and he was able to get away. We have now, I think we have the strongest borders anywhere in the world. Nobody's coming in unless they come in legally. You know, we're taking very weak borders where millions of people came in. For the last 6 months, I mean, I don't do these reports. They say 0 people have been able to come in. Is that pretty good?
Mr.
I don't know how
President,
that's right, but it's
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single.
Now that takes us right up to the point at which we joined that open press time in the Oval Office earlier today. Obviously, President Trump there answering a question about the Epstein files. We reported earlier today, we had it live here on Impact News, that the House of Representatives has passed the bill that would lead to the Department of Justice releasing the files they have on the Jeffrey Epstein investigation if it passes through the Senate and then is signed by President Donald Trump. As for what we just watched, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, once again in Washington, D.C. for the first time since 2018. In 2018 is when a Washington Post journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, was murdered inside of a Saudi consulate in Turkey, or was killed inside of a Saudi consulate in Turkey. So a lot going on today. Also, $600 billion reportedly to be invested in the United States from the Saudi Public Investment Fund, and then a defense pact being pursued by Saudi Arabia with the United States, and President Trump announcing yesterday that he would be selling F-35s to Saudi Arabia. So a lot going on, a lot of details with that meeting. Hopefully we can get into them more as the week goes on. For now, though, we've run out of time here on Live Impact News. 2 huge headlines dominating the action here on Live Impact News, but don't forget, out in Pembroke, Neighbors Helping Neighbors, our food bank happening all day until 6 p.m. But for now, it is 3 p.m. That does it for us here on Live Impact News. We hope to see everybody tomorrow.